In the last video, we went straight into one of the darkest Epstein documents. It was an FBI document about a 13-year-old girl, pregnant, trafficked by her uncle and Jeffrey Epstein, and a newborn baby dumped in Lake Michigan. And today we're coming back with more receipts and some big disclaimers. So this is part 2, and we now have the actual FBI intake form, local news coverage from the New Mexico and Michigan and the Department of Justice itself, calling some related Trump-Epstein claims untrue and sensational. So let's break down what's real, what's alleged, and what the government is trying very hard to distance itself from.
The convicted sex trafficker who died in jail in 2019. Buried inside the files are FBI tips, emails, complaints, and one shocking allegation that has stunned observers. One document, one claim, massive questions.
Here's a quick recap. The document we looked at is an FBI tip from 2020. Hey, real quick, if you made it this far in the video, thank you very much. It's been very difficult getting this up and running. I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and hit like and dropped a comment. Now in the DOJ's Epstein file dump. A woman claims that in the 1980s, when she was 13 and pregnant, she was trafficked on yachts out of Mona Lake into Lake Michigan by her uncle and Epstein. She claims she gave birth and that her uncle murdered the baby and dumped the body in Lake Michigan. In the same document, Donald Trump is listed in connection with the abuse, either as a witness or, in some media summaries, as someone who paid for sex. None of this has been tested in court or backed with public corroborating evidence. Since the first video, more outlets dug into the same tip. Yahoo did a breakdown of what happened at Lake Michigan. The document explaining how TikTok users found the file and how the tip describes Epstein's orchestrating a deal with the uncle so men would pay to abuse a 13-year-old who was already pregnant. Local New Mexico outlet KOB4 reported on a woman from New Mexico making these allegations, saying the FBI intake describes her as a 13 and pregnant in the 1980s, trafficked by Epstein and her uncle, with Epstein listed as a subject and Trump listed as a witness in the paperwork. Detroit area coverage and social posts talk about Lake Michigan and yachts, emphasizing that the alleged murder happened after she gave birth and that the body was supposedly thrown into the lake, out of Mona Lake, which feeds into Lake Michigan. And how did the Trump DOJ respond? Here's where it gets political. Some of the newly released Epstein-related files also included a separate FBI case file with rape allegation involving Trump and Epstein, which the DOJ moved quickly to pull back and label as untrue or sensationalist and lacking any credible basis.
Documents tied to the Jeffrey Epstein case are raising serious questions and renewed controversy. One of the most disturbing claims comes from an unnamed woman who contacted the FBI in 2020. In her statement, she says that in 1984, when she was just 13 years old, she was sex trafficked by her uncle and disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. According to the document, the woman claims she became pregnant during this abuse and later gave birth to a baby girl. She alleges that her newborn child was murdered by her uncle and that the body was dumped into Lake Michigan.
The Times of India segment and other coverage quote the DOJ saying that if those particular allegations have even a shred of credibility, they would have been weaponized against Trump before the 2020 election. And that is the DOJ's own argument as it tries to explain why it published, then removed at least one explosive Trump-Epstein document. And here's an important distinction. The Lake Michigan murdered newborn tip we're talking about in this video is still in the DOJ's Epstein document library. But the government warns that these files are a mix of evidence, raw tips, and claims that have not been verified. So legally, these are allegations on paper and not established facts. The Epstein files are a massive dump of photos, videos, flight records, victim statements, and FBI notes released under a new law, with over 1 million documents still being processed. Part of that release also covers Epstein's earliest known victims. One report describes a 13-year-old girl Epstein allegedly groomed as his first known victim, and some coverage says that she also later named Trump in connection with Epstein, though details and proof are thin and heavily debated. So you have 3 overlapping threads: Epstein's long-running pattern of abuse, Trump's name appearing in multiple unverified tips, and a Justice Department trying to walk the line between transparency and saying, do not treat every allegation in these files as gospel. So here's where this leaves us. A woman's story of being 13, pregnant, trafficked on a Lake Michigan yacht, and watching her baby be killed is now preserved in official FBI and DOJ records as an allegation. Trump's name is on the document. Epstein's name is on the document. But there are still no public signs of investigation, no charges, no forensic search of the lake that anyone is talking about. The DOJ wants you to understand that some of these Trump-related allegations are untrue and sensationalist. But the bigger question is why this ecosystem of powerful men, secret deals, and trafficked children existed at all. And why victims keep ending up as redacted lines in PDFs instead of witnesses in a courtroom. And if you want part 3 where we zoom out into politics, who benefits from releasing this now and who benefits from discrediting it? Share this, drop your thoughts in the comments, and send any other Epstein file receipts you want broken down on camera, and I will happily do that. My name is Chris McIntyre. This is Almost Above Average. We'll see you on the next one. Peace. And not for nothing, but Bill Clinton is also calling for the release of all of the files. I think we should listen to Bill Clinton. He also would like all of the files released. He said it, not me. So hit subscribe.